the San Mateo County. It is 1 o'clock. I would like to call the meeting to order of the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Commissioners at 1 p.m. August 18th, 2021. Can I please have a roll call, Melanie?
President Jane Crawley.
Present.
Commissioner Ryring.
Present.
Commissioner Matoush.
Present.
Commissioner Zemke.
Present.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Here.
Great, thank you. We have a quorum, and I'll move on to item B, which is public comments and questions. Any member of the public who would like to speak to the Harbor Board of Commissioners for 2 minutes may do so on items that are not on the agenda. Do you see any? I see a couple of hands raised. William Smith. Melanie.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, so is this mic off? Good afternoon. I believe you can hear me, I hope, now that you changed the format. First off, I wanted to thank you for this format, as this works very well for the public, so we don't have to attend physically the meeting. It makes life easier for us that are not physically able to attend. And second, I had wanted to know why the chat was turned off, if it can be turned back on for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Olam. Melanie, can you?
I'm sorry. I'm
make
having
sure
some.
that the clock is at 2 minutes. When Mr. Olam's, when he's.
I'm sorry.
when you get on,
I'm having some technical problems. Hold on a moment. I am.
Have I been unmuted?
Yes. Sorry. Hold on, John. I was having some problems.
I appreciate no problem.
Let me get the timer ready.
That's enough.
Okay. I'm
Not to worry.
sorry, John. Hold on. Two seconds. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Melanie. You have 2 minutes, Mr. Olam.
Okay, I won't need 2 minutes. As you know, and as people who are paying attention to this meeting should know, there is major issues at Pillar Point Harbor, especially at Johnson Pier and at the fuel dock. And we're looking at cracked support members, crumbling concrete, rusted rebar. The fuel dock is projected to have only 2 to 5 years left of life. These are all serious threats to the fishing industry on the coast side. Threats that none of you seem to be taking very seriously. I would ask that you pull item 4 from the consent agenda so that we can discuss the state of grants as the district is applying for. Apparently, your only hope of repairing any infrastructure at Pillar Point Harbor lies in obtaining grant funding, and does not look like we're having a lot of good luck getting grant funding. So please pull item 4. I'm done. Thank you. And please mute me.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. Melanie, do you see anything? Anyone who's got his or her hand raised?
No hands are raised.
Okay, so I'm going to close public comment now, and we will go to the consent calendar. Is there a motion, or is there anyone who would like to pull anything off? Or is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I
would like to pull item 4.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else?
Okay, I would just like to make a note that I will not be voting on item number 3 since I did not attend that meeting.
Okay,
Motion to approve the balance of the items.
second,
okay, so that would be number 1, 2. Well, Bill, I mean, we can pull number, do you want to pull number 3, Bill? And then we can
I
just,
think it's probably okay, just if you, the record shows that I'm abstaining from the vote on that.
That's
okay,
correct. That works.
so items, sorry?
I was just confirming that that works.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. So items 1, 2, 3, and 5, there's a motion, and I'm sorry, 6 and 7 too. A motion to approve those items. And it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Any public comment regarding the motion to approve the consent calendar?
I believe Mr. Olam has his.
Okay,
hand
thank
raised
you.
again.
Thank you. Can you please put the timer on to 2 minutes?
I'm not sure why I'm being asked to speak to this. I'm waiting for item 4 to come up, so I have no comments on how you vote for your consent agenda.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to approve the consent items minus item number 4. Let's do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Ryring,
aye.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye,
Commissioner Lorenz,
I, with the exception of number 2, I wasn't at that meeting.
President Chang Karali.
Aye, so that motion carries. So we're gonna go on to the actual business of the Harbor District, and so we'll start with discussion item number 8, expanded fish sales by commercial fish buyers. Jim?
Good afternoon, commissioners and members of the public. The district received a letter from McHenry Fisheries and from Morningstar Fisheries requesting permission to expand the fish sales into the pier in their lease spaces to include processed food or fish such as filleted fish and cooked crab are examples, and be able to sell them to the public directly. I responded on behalf of the district to let them know that this would have to go to the board because it did involve their lease, as their lease restricts them to only selling to the public that product has received from the fishing vessels itself, similar to off the boat sales. So now it's coming up before the board. The board has authority to give me the jurisdiction under their lease to modify what they can do out there to include this activity of expanded fish sales. If the board were to approve this, they would require additional permitting. County of San Mateo to have a fish market in their building. And I'm recommending that if we do allow that, all sales take place from their lease space. Only seafood products landed on Johnson Pier be offered for retail sale. That the percentage of gross sales be set at 3%. It's currently 2.5. I'm making the recommendation of 3% because the fish market at Order at the Corner pays 3% on the sale of their fish product. No sales activity shall take place during the loading or offloading of fishing vessels unless personally escorted by an employee of the fish buyer or a representative of the fish buyer. And then finally, individual fish buyers are required to get and obtain their own permits from the county. If this is approved, it will compete and affect the fish sales at Order at the Corner, because that is the only active fish market in Pillar Point Harbor at this time. Pending any questions, That's my report.
So I'll open this item up for commissioner discussion at this time.
I have some comments.
Okay, Commissioner Mateusz?
The Harbor District has made a lot of progress on Johnson Pier in reducing traffic. We came up with a line. We're trying to reinstitute the limit line that we don't want passengers to go beyond. And I'm conflicted in thinking that now we're going to devise a business where general public is going to go beyond the line where we don't want people to go. I understand that when there's not squid, when there's not crab, when there's not things, we'd be doing that. Why wouldn't we have more like farmer's market? Shall we call it a fisherman's market? Place to take some ice bins down. Have we adequately thought out trying to have something on land that reduces the traffic, the foot traffic on the pier? I'm also concerned at the end of the pier, there is no railing. Many of us have witnessed on Johnson Pier when the railing was rebuilt and it was repurposed so that people didn't use it to sit on, to set things on. There's nothing like that at the end of the pier. It's a safety issue. In addition to, we talked about the revenue. I'd like to see this sent back to the revenue committee to try and get some kind of an idea of what our revenues could be expected, what the lease amendments might look like. And I'd really like to find out, can't we find a piece of ground, either part of Perch Beach, part of the land over by the picnic tables? Can we erect kind of a tent type of erection? I'm not sure what you would call this. I've seen these little pop-up tent things, 4 corners and a roof, maybe a good solid frame. Let's find out, where could we have one of these that would reduce the impact of the public coming out on the pier? And I gotta say, if they could sell cooked crab, I'd love it, because anybody who's seen the lines, and we definitely need something that's more customer serving for our crab industry. But I, for one, would like to at first look at how and where can we do this in a safe manner that doesn't draw even more people on the pier.
Thank you, Commissioner Mateusz. I see Commissioner Ryering's hand up. Commissioner Ryering, would you like to start your discussion?
Well, yeah, I had a few questions for Jim, and they were all exactly along the lines of what Commissioner Mateusz is bringing up, having to do with additional traffic on the pier now, when that's just a matter that we've been working so hard on in order to reduce the traffic out there. I really like the idea that we have thrown around before of a fisherman's farmer's market and some opportunity for fish sales, but not on the pier. So I think it'd be really a good idea for this to go back to the Revenue and Income Committee as well.
Any other commissioners who'd like to chime in? I'm going to take public comment soon, and then we can also have a discussion among the commissioners as well after public comment. But if you'd like to make a comment now, let me know. Ed, I saw that you unmuted yourself. Would you like to make a comment?
I'd like to wait and hear the public comment first.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to take public comment on this item right now and open it up for public comment. So I saw Lisa Damrosch's hand up first. So Lisa, this is your time. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, commissioners. Good afternoon. I don't need 2 minutes. I just wanted to let you know that I was here if there were any questions. I think the rationale and the idea is in the documents that you have. If there's any questions, I'm here. Also, having heard the recent commissioner comments, certainly open into working through the committee or whatever the best process is to fully explore this idea. And again, it's not adding we currently have the ability in our lease to sell from those locations. We're looking to expand the product line. But again, always open to what the best solution is for the public to get access to our seafood here locally. So thank you, and appreciate you looking at this issue.
Thank you. John Olam. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. To me, it sounds like a great idea. It adds a lot to the character of the harbor. I think that one of the attractions of the whole idea is to go out, to walk out on the pier and buy it directly from the fishermen. If you're going to sell it on shore, that wouldn't be a bad idea, but it kind of defeats what the whole charm of the idea is in the first place. I understand your reluctance to put people on Johnson Pier. You all know better than anybody that Johnson Pier has a lot of structural problems, and there is nothing on the horizon for us how we're going to deal with those financially anyways. So I can understand your reluctance to send people out there. I did put the caveat in there that they would be escorting people out there during busy times, which seems like should not be a problem. It seems like they've made an effort to figure out how to address some of your objections. Just because you want to keep people off the pier is not a good reason to deny these men and women an opportunity to improve their standards of living by selling off the docks. And as they've mentioned, they're only asking for an expansion of what they already have. Nobody has fallen off of the dock. And if there was a problem with the railing not being there, I would assume that somebody would have done something about that a long time ago. So please go ahead and consider. I know you're going to kick it into another committee and kick it around some, but I would like to see an attitude of how can we make this happen versus what is wrong with it. So you can always find reasons why you can't do something. I want to see you guys talk about how can we get this done for them. These guys work hard. They're the primary reason the harbor district exists, and their priorities seem to be way down on your list. Thank you. I'm done. Please mute me.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenas, I think you wanted to make a comment after public comment. Well, hold on. I don't see any other hands. And I'm not going to close public comment right now, but I do want to hear if commissioners would like to, kind of talk amongst each other in response or taking in the extra information that we've received from the public. So Commissioner Lorenas, I know that you wanted to wait. If you want to listen to others, that's fine, but I'm opening up the floor to you now.
No, I can, excuse me. No, I can go now. The letters that we received were well written. They made their case very well. I understand Tom's reluctance. I think we should find a way to work with Morningstar and McHenry Fisheries to do this. I realize that it's on their lease agreement already, but I appreciate the fact that they want to be forthcoming and work with us. And with respect to the public on the pier, the way I see our mission is not necessarily to limit or keep the public from the pier. Our mission really is to provide them safe access. And so if we can accomplish that, and I think we can, we should definitely find a way to work with McHenry and Morningstar to make this happen. I see no reason we can't do that.
Thank you. Commissioner Zimke, I see that you're unmuted. Did you want
Yes.
to chime in here?
Thank you, Virginia. Yeah, I'm generally in support of this, and I think whatever we can do to make it happen is good. But I am sensitive to Tom's concerns as well, because I'm not sure how often there's trucks and things moving on the pier and how that might best be handled and still allow this kind of activity to go forward. So I guess I'm a little in the dark. Maybe Jim could ask, or somebody that's more familiar with the operation of the pier, what percentage of the time is there offloading activities going on that would interfere with this?
Jim?
Commissioner Zemsky, thank you for your question. The pier gets extremely busy during squid offload season, crab season, salmon season. And when those fisheries aren't strong or moving, the pier is, the trucks aren't out there. We can consider the idea of allowing this with direction to staff to research with the finance committee the viability of starting a fisherman's market on in the future and finding a location for that.
Mhm.
So, oh, go on, Commissioner Zemke.
Oh, no, that's all I had. I think, I would be very much in support of trying to find a location to make a fisherman's market accessible to the public, which would seem to maybe be a good solution if there's a lot of activity going on the pier. Maybe it's not a good idea to have a lot of people walking all the way out to the fish buyers' leases.
So, it looks like the staff report gives us two options, and it sounds like a third option, if I'm hearing all of the commissioners correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a third option could be to have this go to the Revenue and Income Ad Hoc Committee. So just to have more answers to questions, specifically to Commissioner Ryring and Commissioner Mateusz's questions. And so if that's an option, I'm happy to make that a third option, just because it was brought up by some of the commissioners today.
So I have a comment on that, if you will let me.
Yeah, please, Commissioner Lorenas.
If we go to send this to for review to a committee, I would, excuse me, I would prefer that it go to a committee in such a way that other commissioners can attend and interact. If you read their letter carefully, it's more than just, excuse me, it's more than just about being able to sell fish. It's also, they also talk about restricting fish sales to fish that are caught. And that's a worthy discussion. I mean, for me, I think that's a great idea, but I think it's a better venue would be to discuss this with more folks involved that have an interest in this.
Okay, so thanks for that suggestion, Commissioner Lorenas. So, Jim, I think we have the Finance Committee, which is a standing committee, which is, I mean, anyone from the public can attend any of these meetings. But Commissioner Lorenas, if you're suggesting that this should go to a standing committee versus an ad hoc committee, is that what you're saying we should be doing?
I'd rather see it go to a standing committee and noticed as a special meeting so that more than 2 commissioners can attend. The format that we have now for our regular meetings doesn't allow discussion, and so what we'd be doing is allowing the public to provide input to a committee, and then it would come to us. I'd like to be able to hear what the public has to say instead of getting a Cliff Notes version of it from a committee.
Okay.
Just as you're considering this option, if it did go to a standing committee, a third member of the board could not attend that meeting.
I understand that. That's why I'm saying it should be noticed as a special meeting.
Right, but a third member of the board can attend the meeting, Tricia. The third member of the board cannot speak at the meeting, right? And so if I'm hearing Commissioner Lorenas correctly, is that he would like to have this as a special meeting so all 5 of the commissioners can participate. Is that correct, Commissioner Lorenas?
Yes.
So if you would like to make that motion to have a special meeting, then we can have a discussion of the full commission right now on that particular motion.
Okay, I move that we hold this as a special meeting so that any commissioner that wishes to attend may attend.
Is there a second? Okay, there's no second, so that motion fails. Commissioner Ryring, I thought that I saw that you unmuted yourself. did you want to make a motion, or did you want to say anything or make a motion, or?
Oh, yeah, I took my hand down because I was listening to commissioner comments, but I'll move that this be, that this item go to the Revenue and Income Committee and then be brought back to the full board for discussion.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, let's have the commissioners discuss this. If there are any other comments before I open up this motion to public comment. Commissioner Lorenz, did you have anything to say?
I
or
do have
Commissioner
something to
Mateo?
say. I'd just like to
Okay.
point out to the public that bringing the item to the board for discussion later is not the same as allowing the full commission, if they choose to do so, to attend and participate in a meeting like this. My experience has been that when items like this are brought to the board, they are quickly shuttled through, which does not allow the public discussion. It does not allow the commissioners to have a full discussion and understanding of these topics. So I vehemently disagree with this. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, I'll open up this motion to public comment, and I see a hand raised, John Olam. You have 2 minutes, Mr. Olam.
Thank you. You know, rarely do you see an opportunity when you watch public meetings, and I watch a lot of them, where all of the concerns of all the commissioners can be addressed, you know, in a way that makes sense. Mr. Lorenz simply wants as much public transparency and participation in the decision as can be achieved. And Ms. Rearing seems to think that the only issue here is whether there's any money in it for the district, because she wants to go to revenue. And it's just, it's kind of surprising to watch Commissioner Zemke, you know, at first support the idea of fish selling out there, and then go to this notion of we're going to have to decide if it's good for the district to make some money off of this. Well, obviously the success of these individual operations is good for the district. And why you would want to send this into another subcommittee meeting that nobody will attend and will have very limited opportunity to say anything, 2 minutes. And then you're going to tell all the commissioners what was said. And that is what you consider transparency in doing what's in the best interests for the public? I really don't get the attitude. Mr. Commissioner Lorentz's idea is pretty straightforward and could have accomplished everything that you all want to accomplish, except you don't want it to be talked about in public. Don't get it. I'm done. Please mute me.
Thank you. I see another hand raised from Johnny Chandler. Mr. Chandler, this is for the motion on the table to refer this item to the ad hoc committee of the Revenue and Income ad hoc committee.
Somehow it looks.
Melanie, I'm not sure if you see Mr. Chandler's hand up. Can you please unmute him?
He should be able to talk.
I see that he's mute. I don't know if Mr. Chandler can hear me, but if you can, Mr. Chandler, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
I
we
just got
can. Thank you. You have
sorry for the
2
technicalities
minutes.
there. I just want to concur with Commissioner Lorenz that I think an open discussion of this with the full board is warranted and would be better serve the community in getting more information rather than rushing to a judgment with a smaller committee group. And I realize that there are benefits to a smaller working group, But I do think we get more information from a larger group, and I would concur with that. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any last commissioner comments? Okay, then I will go for a roll call, please. Actually, Melanie, would you please read
You know what?
the-
Actually, Virginia, before we vote on this, I think that some of these comments are, a bit specious, and I'd like Tricia to weigh in. Our process in no way keeps the public from attending or voicing their opinion. And in fact, going to committee, they'll now have 2 opportunities to do so, and the full commission will be weighing in. So Tricia, can you speak to that a little?
Of course, the public has an opportunity to speak to any noticed meeting of a committee. So if the Revenue and Income Committee is a notice committee meeting, then the public will have an opportunity to participate in that, and then again have a opportunity to participate in the meeting when that committee reference or brings their recommendations back to the full board.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Reiering, for that clarification. That is correct. And the Revenue and Income Ad Hoc Committee, I will make sure that is noticed as a meeting that where the public can attend. And Commissioner Reiering is correct. The public would have 2 opportunities to comment at this point instead of just
I'd like
one.
to make a comment on this.
Please.
Thank you. No one is saying that the public cannot attend these committee meetings. What I'm asking for is for these meetings to be noticed in such a way that any commissioner that would like to hear the discussions and ask questions can attend. And the only way to do that is to notice it as a special meeting. And the reason for that is, as I said, when this item comes up to the general meeting, and this has happened many times in the past, there's examples of this. What happens in our regular meeting is that the board decides they've had enough discussion very quickly, and a motion is made and voted on, and the item moves on. So in order for me as a commissioner to understand what the public is talking about, I need to be able to go to the meeting and interact, ask questions, not just sit there. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Is there any more commissioner comments on this motion? I've closed public comment for this item.
Oh, Virginia, I just had one question. Are the committee meetings recorded?
Jim? I think the standing committee meetings.
Standing committees are recorded. Ad hoc committees are not recorded at this time unless the chair requests.
Oh, okay.
And
Thanks.
I'm happy to request that if the commission so wishes that to happen. But let's get with this. So we have a motion and a second right now, and I've closed public comment. So why don't we vote on this? And if someone would like to make a motion to have this meeting recorded, we'll entertain that motion as a commission as well. So let's do a roll call, please. Melanie, can you please read the motion and read the motion, please?
I do not have the motion. Tricia, do you know what it is?
Well, I believe, Commissioner Zimke made the motion to have this item regarding the fish buyers and their ability to sell fish off the dock or off the pier will be referred to the Revenue and Income Ad Hoc Committee committee. And Commissioner, I think Reiering seconded the motion.
I think it
Is
was
that
actually
correct?
the other way around. She made the motion.
It was the other way around.
I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner Reiering made the motion and Commissioner Zimke seconded it. Sorry.
That's all right.
And I think you, just to make it perfectly clear, to add to that motion that you were intending to hold it as a public meeting where the public can provide comments.
Correct. So Melanie, that's the motion. Did you get
Okay.
that?
No. Actually,
President Corrali, if I can repeat it.
Please.
Commissioner Ryring made the motion to return this item, item 8, to go back to the Revenue and Income Committee for further discussion, and then it was amended after that by Commissioner Corrali to have the meeting a publicly noticed meeting, and that it be recorded.
Commissioner Ryring, are you okay with that friendly amendment?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then Commissioner Zimke, you seconded that. So are you
Yes,
okay
I'm
with
fine with that
seconding
as
the
well.
friendly amendment?
I am fine with that.
Okay. So let's do a roll call, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
No,
President Shane Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-1. So this item will go back to the Revenue and Income Ad Hoc Committee as a public meeting, and it will be recorded. Item 9, commercial activity permits and associated issues, wholesale fish offloads. General Manager Pruitt, would you like to kick this item off for discussion?
I'm pulling it up now. So again, good afternoon, commissioners. In reviewing our ordinances and for review and updates, we noted that caps for third-party buyers and caps for vessels that enter the harbor to conduct offloads that do not pay berthing fees, and then are required per our ordinances, but the district does not strictly enforce those. And the public hoist, there's questions as to should commercial offloads be allowed at the public hoist? And then finally, should commercial wholesale offloads be conducted from the floating docks? Or those are all questions that are out there, and we would like to hold a public meeting and workshop with the impacted individuals to discuss how we should enforce or how we should develop caps for wholesale buyers and caps for visiting fishing vessels, uses of the public hoist, and then finally, should wholesale fish offloads be conducted or allowed from the floating docks. This is in accordance with our ordinance of 510.010 commercial activity permits. And it also aligns with goals 4, 6, and 7 of our strategic plan. And again, what we're asking for is authorize the general manager or direct the general manager to host a public meeting workshop to gain public input on requiring commercial activity permits for visiting fishing vessels conducting commercial offloads at Pillar Point Harbor, the authorized uses of the public hoist, non-tenant wholesale commercial activity permits, and wholesale offloads, or whether offloads directly from third-party wholesalers buyers should be permitted from the floating docks, and report back to the Harbor District with final consideration. There is wholesale fish buyers that come down to the pier and in the past would drive out onto the harbor or Johnson Pier and would do commercial wholesale fish buys from fishermen directly from the floating docks without those caps. And when we do find those, we ask them to stop and go through the fish buyers at the end of the pier unless they had a cap, which they didn't have a cap. So we're asking just to tighten up our enforcement of our own ordinances at the end of the day. Pending any questions, that's my report.
Thank you. So I just want to be very clear so that everyone understands that this is not that we're issuing commercial activity permits. This item, as General Manager Pruitt has stated, is to have a public workshop. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that. I'm opening this up to commissioner discussion now. Are there any items or anything? Is there any comment that you'd like to make, commissioners?
I support
I think I see a hand.
setting
Hold on.
this up altogether.
I'm sorry. What was that, Commissioner Matoush?
I support having the public meeting and getting this straightened out. So I support the entire process.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Waring, I thought I saw your hand up.
I do too. Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Matoush, and this is another opportunity for the public to get involved with discussions about using the docks and the limited space and whether and what is suitable and not for commercial activity.
Commissioner Zemke, it looks like
Yeah,
your hand. You're
I agree. And
unmuted.
I guess the next question is that we're going to make this a special meeting so that the commissioners can participate.
Yeah, I'm happy to. We've done that recently, so I'm happy to do that here.
I think that would make sense.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Well, I think if we do this as a special meeting, it would be a wonderful idea. This is something that's been going on for a long time, and it would be really great and also very important to get this sorted out.
Okay, I'll open this up to public comment and I see a hand raised. John Olam.
I'm just trying to understand what the difference between what you're discussing now and how you want to handle it versus what you were discussing in the last item and how you wanted to handle that. You're all for public participation on this one and see the value in that, but you want to have a super tight and inside baseball kind of meeting about the previous item at a revenue and income meeting, which no one has ever attended and apparently has never been recorded before and is typically not noticed. I don't understand the difference. It would be great if someone could explain why this item is worthy of handling it the way you are and the other one was not. Thank you. Please mute me.
Any other public comments on this particular item? If not, I'll close public comment. Commissioner Zemke, I think you had an idea of how you wanted to have this. Would you like to make a motion?
Oh, I can make the motion. And just to respond a minute to John's comment.
Let me just remind you.
He made it sound like we're trying to squash public comment, and that is not what we're trying to do. The reason that I felt comfortable on the previous one, number 8, was that I'm comfortable with the committee coming up with the details that we need to see. On number 9, I guess I'm a little more open to a special meeting since I'm unfamiliar with the issues that around the capital, the CAPs. And for that reason, I would like to participate in it. So it's, to me, there's a difference between how we're treating number 8 and number 9. But I can make a motion.
Please.
I would move that we concur with the general manager's desire to hold a public workshop concerning wholesale fish offloads, and would propose that be a called as a special meeting as well.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any last discussion item or comments from commissioners? Okay, roll call, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush.
Aye.
So that motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, commercial activity report for California Action Sports. John Moran. John, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thought I hit the button. Good afternoon, commissioners. This is agenda item is for the board to consider the water sports commercial activity permit application submitted by California Action Sports at Oyster Point Marina. The commercial activity permit applicant is requesting approval to conduct a kiteboarding and water sports instruction business at Oyster Point Marina. Last month, when this item was brought to the board for consideration, staff brought up concerns about possible oversaturation of service that neither business would ultimately find success in operating. The board requested additional information and answers to specific questions so a better informed decision could be made, which are included in this staff report. The district currently has one existing water sports cap at Oyster Point Marina. In the past, the district has allowed 2 water sports caps at OPM. Both require to pay the district quarterly 3% of total gross sales and services provided. Historically, in 2018, cap number 1 generated $9,995 in total gross revenues and paid the district $299.84 for the year. Cap number 2 generated $26,509, paid the district $795.27. In 2019, cap number 1 reported no revenue. Cap number 2 generated $21,240 and paid the district a total of $637.21. In 2020, cap number 1 did not renew their cap. Cap number 2 generated $1,233 and paid the district $36.99. For 2021, as of the end of March, cap number 2 has generated $4,674 and paid the district $140.22. Despite this history of very low income generation by the water sports commercial activity permits, the applicant believes his new business will be successful because of his services and marketing expertise. The Western Oyster Point Marina Peninsula currently has large ongoing development project underway. The development contractor is currently using a landside portion of the East Peninsula, which was previously used for kiteboard instruction. Since the proposed commercial activity permit applicant under consideration is not requesting use of any landside area, there would be no conflict with the development and construction taking place. The number of customers would not be significant and would park in designated public parking spaces as available on a first come, first served basis. Therefore, staff believe parking would not be a challenge. Applicant is currently a tenant at Oyster Point and would meet customers at the dock gate and accompany them to the vessel, ensuring social distancing. Applicant would adhere to all county and state guidelines for COVID safety and would include a detailed operations plan consistent with those guidelines. Customers would not be provided with tenant dock gate or restroom keys. Permittee would be responsible for keeping the area used clean and ensure no potential environmental hazards occur. The district currently has several other approved charter rental caps that depart from in-water slips, which have historically caused no safety or security issues. Therefore, from an operations facility standpoint, staff does not foresee any significant challenges with this applicant's plan to depart with customers from his assigned slip. If the board decides to approve this commercial activity permit pursuant to the terms and conditions of the cap, permittee would be allowed to operate a kiteboarding and water sports instruction business at Oyster Point Marina. Permittee has already paid the application fee and would be required to pay deposit and quarterly gross revenue fees of 3% as adjusted annually.
Hey, any commissioner comments? Commissioner Matoush?
Yes, I understand the applicant has worked diligently to try and bring this back. I'm beyond surprised how quickly it came back to the board. I'm surprised by how little income is produced by these businesses, having a business myself. I would like this to be reviewed by the Revenue Committee or Ad hoc Committee and discuss, have we set our goals correctly here? However, the biggest point I have is that, as I discussed with the applicant, there's a lot of construction over there. And I know that South San Francisco has not started raising the coastal trail in compliance with the sea level rise yet. I'd like to propose that we have a walkthrough of all the commissioners together to be able to chat and look at this and be sure, where is this going to take place? How is this going to take place? Where's the one person working? Where's the other person working? I'm just unclear about how quickly this came back when we turned it down last month. So I'm saying we need to have a meeting over there and look at the condition of this entire thing. So I'm not going to approve this at this point. And I believe we need a meeting of all the commissioners that choose to attend over there to see that this is a safe and viable thing to do with all the construction that's going on. That's the same thing I said to the applicant.
So let me just make something very clear, Commissioner Matoush. Last month, the commission did not turn down the applicant's request for a commercial activity permit, but thank you for clarifying where you stand on this. Commissioner Zimke, I see that you're unmuted.
Yeah, I want to be sensitive to Tom's point. He's made some good points. To me, as I've thought about this, obviously the income from this to the district is not huge. But I think the driving reason for doing it is basically, one of our goals is to make services available to the public. And to the extent that we can do that through having multiple lessees providing services, I think that's a good thing. And in looking at this, I think the existing service or water sports lessee or tenant or whatever we call them is somewhat different than John's proposal. So I see these as being somewhat complementary. So I'm not opposed to doing this. If Tom would feel better having an opportunity to go through with the rest of the commission and look, on site, I would be in favor of that as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenz, I see that you're unmuted too, if you wanted to add anything.
Okay, thank you. John, thank you for a very nice report. It's very clear what's going on. You've done a great job. I have full faith in staff's recommendation on this. And I'd like to make the point that this agreement would only hold till December 2021. And so if things didn't work out the way we thought they would, we can either make an amendment or just cancel it. So I don't see any reason we shouldn't approve it.
If I could just clarify, Ed, thank you. But in this instance, staff is simply not making a recommendation. Staff made a recommendation at the last month's meeting, but was directed by the board to go back and provide the additional information in a in a manner that was not making a recommendation, just providing all the facts. And that's what staff tried to do here.
Thank you. So I'm going to open this item up to public comment, and I see one hand raised, John Olam.
Unlike Commissioner Matoush, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's hard to tell when this starts. Unlike Commissioner Matoush, I'm pleasantly surprised that staff was able to, get these facts together in less than a few months and get it back up on for discussion. I'm not sure why the fact that it's happening faster than Mr. Matoush would like provokes him now to suggest some sort of walk around meeting to go out there and decide whether it's safe or not. I guess I do have one theory as to what Mr. Matoush is worried about. At the last time this came up, he was talking about the Harbor District building a 40,000 square foot shopping center on the space that he thought might be being used by the applicant. I thought that was kind of fascinating because I'd never heard about that before. I don't see it in the master plan. I've never heard it discussed in public, never heard it discussed at the liaison meetings. In fact, at the last liaison meeting, the two South San Francisco representatives were pretty adamant that they did not want to lose any more open space that had already been lost out there. And I wonder if they know about Tom's dream of building a 40,000 square foot shopping center, especially in light when you have a lot of challenging funding issues for the things you're supposed to be doing. So could anybody explain to me how Tom's dream of the 40,000 square foot shopping center might impact your decision, and might explain why he wants to take you all out there so he can show you where he wants to put that shopping center? Please expound on that. Thanks. I'm done. Please mute me.
Johnny Chandler.
I believe I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, commissioners, for taking the time to listen to my proposal. Respect Mr. Matoush's opinion, but it's evident and available to anyone who cared to do so, to see that this type of business, working from a boat, teaching kiteboarding and other water sports, has been done a long time, not just here in the Bay Area, but across the country. That information is readily available. A walkthrough is not a necessary thing. And I will tell you this, that there's only a few months left in this season. I want to point out that was severely impacting my business by not approving that permit. And more importantly, affect the Marina district by not gaining that revenue. I've been told by the director that I can operate my kiteboarding business as long as I don't pick up people at the Marina. So the only real thing will be here is whether or not the Marina will be picking up that additional revenue. I prefer to play by the rules. That's why I'm approaching this with this permit and not trying to sidestep it. I think the community will benefit. I'm offering a broad spectrum of water sports, not just kiteboarding. I've got a long history of doing this. More than happy to spend any time with people outside discussing that. Most of the services are not being provided in the area from San Francisco to Foster City. There's nobody providing paddleboarding or open water swimming or sailing instruction from San Francisco to Foster City. In Foster City and San Francisco, yes, they are. My projected revenue is a modest projection of one lesson a day, 5 days a week. Should easily net $10,000 a month. An estimated a monthly $40,000 to $60,000 a year with those modest projections.
Thank you. Jeff Kafka.
Hi, this is Jeff here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You have 2 minutes, Mr. Kafka.
Okay, hi, thank you for your service. If you have interest in learning more about what we do and don't, I'm happy to share that with you. I've been successful at teaching this complex water sport since 1999. Johnny Chandler has lied, harassed, stalked, blackmailed, broke the law, and tried to sabotage us for his own gain. He broke into Dock 12 recently using a rope over the fence, and we called the police. He was caught. The police report says that he said he did not do it. Sean Kelly caught him doing it, and then the security guard on the property caught him a second night. And then he took photos and forwarded those photos to the Coast Guard because he thinks I'm in violation of the Coast Guard. I communicated with the Coast Guard. We're in good standing. I've had nothing but conflict from Johnny Chandler since, I haven't talked to him since 2014, but in 2014, we had nothing but conflict. I think he's a liability for the community. And currently he's working at a school. Just for the last week, he's been working at the kite school. And in a week, he parked a watercraft where it ended up on the rocks. He let a student go close to the San Mateo Bridge where another instructor had to rescue him. He let another student's body surf over the rocks. He improperly tied a personal watercraft to a buoy and the watercraft drifted away. He lost his student's gear. This is all reported from the current kites operation that he's working at. I don't have a conflict with the legitimate business and legitimate competition. I have a conflict with Johnny Chandler and his lack of ability and safety. I also wrote a document and you can look it over.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Matoush, I think that you had mentioned that you had an idea. Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion that we go over there and have it open it to all the commissioners and the public that wishes to attend, review the situation, and just make sure that what the Harbor District is getting into is a safe and viable business for all involved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. There's a motion and a second, and I'll take commissioner comments on this motion. Commissioner, do any commissioners have a comment on this motion? Commissioner Zimke, you're on mute.
My phone was ringing, so I did have to put myself on mute. No, not on this. I at some point maybe want to respond to Mr. Olam's previous comments, which.
The Commissioner Zimke, at this point, under I think the Brown Act, you cannot interact directly with the public for public comment, but thank you for, if you have any comments for this particular motion, this is now the time to speak. If not, I see Commissioner Lorenas unmuted himself. So either one.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that I'm all for public comment and participation. And in this case, I don't see the rationale from Commissioner Matoush. We're talking about business that's going to take a few people out on a boat that's already docked there. I don't see the rationale, so I am going to vote no.
Hey, any other commissioner comments? So I see that there is a public comment that I will take on this motion. John Olam.
Thank you. Boy, I read the letter that the current operator had sent, and there were a lot of accusations, but nothing was actually backed up. And I've been a member of several exports, hang gliding, soaring, that kind of thing. And I can tell you, you can see a near disaster just about every minute if you're watching. So I'm not sure why the current operator would have such a vindictive attitude. Apparently he'd be totally okay with somebody else going and having a business there. He just doesn't want this applicant. That's pretty much what he told you. And so I am surprised that that's the best argument that has so far been offered. Again, Mr. Zemke, I can tell you how you can handle Ms. Corrali's objections. She will answer questions when, let you answer questions when she feels that's okay and beneficial to her. in operation times like this, it's not beneficial to her. She doesn't want those questions answered. So what you do is don't refer to what I said or ask me like you're answering me. You pretend to ask a question of staff members. And if you do that, then they answer the question because you have the right to ask questions. So just phrase my comments in a manner, if you have a question about it, just ask a question. Don't mention me, because as soon as you do, well, you'll see what happened. I'm done. Thank you. Please mute me.
Johnny Chandler. And so this comment is for this motion, Mr. Chandler.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. The motion would significantly impact my ability to operate the business there. It won't stop me from operating, but it will certainly impact it. I will be operating there. If I'm not allowed to operate it there, which the director told me I can, then there are other marinas that I can work out of. But this one's the only one with a boat ramp. It's the only one with a windsurfing launch ramp. The other applicant, who I'm a former employee of, and I have the W-2s to prove that, the applicant seemed to make it appear as though he has no knowledge of me. There were many misstatements in his allegations, and including the one that he reported to the police after I reported that he's in violation of the Coast Guard captain's requirement to have a captain's license. He is being investigated by the Coast Guard for that violation right now. And I've provided them with documentation. He is clearly in violation of that law. And that's all I have to say about this. I will address any of these other allegations with my attorney and the other party, and not waste the board's time with that. Again, I'm moving forward with this business regardless. The only downside to me not getting that permit is the San Mateo County Harbor District will be losing out on the revenues from that and not giving me a full opportunity to utilize the facilities there. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. I'm going to close public comment right now. And if there are no commissioner comments, let's do a roll call, please. Melanie, would you please read the motion?
It was Commissioner Mateusz said, have the commissioners have an on-site visit and assess the business plan for California Action Sports at Oyster Point Marina. And assess the
Commissioner Corrali, with your permission, and Commissioner Mateusz, with your permission, I'd like to rephrase the motion to the intent I believe Commissioner Mateusz was trying to say.
Thank you, because I don't
Please
believe
do.
it's to review a business plan.
Commissioner Mateusz made the motion to host a special meeting at OPM to the facility and ensure a safe operation with all personnel involved.
Yes. That's what I understood this to be. So there would be the motion is to have a special meeting out at the premises.
At OPM, yes.
Yes, at Oyster Point Marina with Commissioner Wiring seconding that. So if there are no more commissioner comments, let's just do a roll call, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Lorenz,
No.
Commissioner Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Wiring,
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke.
You're on mute, Commissioner Zemke.
Sorry about that. My dog was barking. I vote in favor of this. Aye.
Great, thank you. That motion carries 4-1. Thank you very much. And thank you, John, for a great report. So we'll move on to item 11, which is a review of districts following 2020 census / sole source redistricting consultant, Jim.
So I'm opening it up as we speak. Good afternoon, commissioners. This is a requirement every 10 years following the national census, is to review our districts to ensure that they reflect the demographics and areas of our county based on that census. So as required by California Election Code, Section 22000, the Harbor District is required to review the election districts following the 2020 census. And to accomplish that, we will need to hire a redistricting consultant to conduct this review. Since every city, state, county, and special district has to conduct this review, redistricting consultants are in extreme limited availability and supply. So anticipating this, we reached out to the prior redistricting consultant, redistricting partners that did the original districting consulting work for the district when we switched from county-wide elections to district elections, to see their availability. And in response to that, they stated they were available and submitted a scope of work back to the district, and it's attached to the staff report. Scope of work does include reviewing the census and holding public meetings to follow the rules of the election code. And then finally, one additional thing that I requested that they do is create an online tool for the district so that members of the public can sign on to the district website, enter their address, and be able to tell which district they are in, either District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a capability we do not have right now.
Right.
Their estimated cost was $33,000. And that was an estimated cost of not an exact amount. So I'm recommending, based on the severe limited availability of redistricting consultants, that the board approve waiver of the policy for hiring service agreements. Those service agreements per our policy state that anything over $5,000, I think it was, we need to go to the board and get approval. It has to be competitively bidded. And they do that to promote greater economy and efficiency for the district, to provide safeguards and maintain procurement policy, quality and integrity, installs public competence, ensures fair and equitable treatment to vendors, to foster maximum open and free competition, and to maintain procurement policy and procedures. You have the authority to waive that. And because this contract is over $25,000, I need the authority from the board to waive that policy and to enter into a professional service agreement with that consultant. Pending any questions, that's my report.
I see a hand raised by Commissioner Ryring. I'll open it up to commissioner discussion.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion. We can have discussion. I move that we authorize the general manager to enter into sole source professional service agreement with redistricting partners to conduct a voting district review following the 2020 national census in accordance with election code 22000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussions by the commissioners. Commissioner Zemke, I see that you're unmuted. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I think this is a good idea.
Okay. Commissioner Lorenz?
Yes, thank you. Jim, thank you for adding the ability to find out which district you're in. That's going to be very helpful to the public. As part of that, I would add that it would be useful to have them provide an accurate map that the public can use. So what we had last time was, it was very difficult to tell which side of the borders you were on. They weren't accurate enough. So if he can do that as part of it, which I think he'd have to do anyway, if he's going to be able to provide that kind of information to the public, that would be also very useful. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll open this up now for public comment on this item and the motion made by Commissioner Ryring. I don't see any hands raised. Do you see anything, Melanie?
There are no hands raised.
Then I will close public comment and let's go for a vote now. Roll call, please, on Commissioner Ryring's motion.
Commissioner Chen Carali,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Aye.
So that motion carries. So I'd like to move up the other business items 13 and 14 and put item 12 at the bottom before we take the consent item 2 into consideration. So why don't we move 13 up and let's have the report on the final consideration of amendment to ordinance code to ensure safe use of private mooring at Pillar Point Harbor. John Moran.
Commissioner Carali, if I can interrupt.
Sure.
We do have guest speakers for the Tsunami Preparedness Plan.
Oh, okay.
That will be making a presentation. So
Okay.
we move on to the Tsunami Preparedness Plan based on the fact that we do have guest speakers.
Right. Okay. So are you saying that these other items might take longer because we could have moved them up at the beginning of the meeting, or is there a reason that their presentation is before these two items?
I don't think they'll take any longer. The items afterwards. I just wanted to make you aware that we do have guest speakers that will address the tsunami plan.
Okay, well then let's just, let's just take item 12 and just follow the agenda. So thank you very much for being here. This is the Tsunami Preparedness Plan for Pillar Point Harbor and our Harbor Master, Chris Tibby. Thank you for being here. Would you like to kick off this presentation?
Sure thing. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Carali. Good afternoon, commissioners and members of the public. I'll first read you a staff report and a bit of an update, and then introduce our panelists who are awesome. So this is going to be good. Harbor District staff would like to thank the Board of Commissioners for receiving this update on what is currently underway in San Mateo County for the development of an updated tsunami preparation plan. A new tsunami preparation plan is underway in San Mateo County. The need for an updated stemmed from major data gathering and a comprehensive relook at tsunami studies that occurred after the 2011 Japan and the 2018 Indonesia events. Although California has about 200 years of tsunami data, new technology has significantly changed since the state conducted its last major study of the probability of a tsunami hitting the San Mateo coast. The expanded use of technology throughout California has discovered geologic evidence of several tsunamis throughout California over the last 3,500 years on the northern coast where the Cascadia subduction zone is located. Investigating these events and using a comprehensive approach paired with new scientific information to capture the tsunami effect has increased dramatically. The results of these findings revealed that the San Mateo County would benefit from an update. Currently, there is a county task force headed by San Mateo County Department of Emergency Management that is making significant progress towards a new plan and has welcomed participation and collaboration from several agencies, including San Mateo County Harbor District. This plan will include evacuation sites, traffic plans, and zones, as well as enhanced alert systems. District staff strives to ensure everyone on the coast remains safe before, during, and after the next tsunami. With mission objective direction from the Board of Commissioners, San Mateo County Harbor District has historically been an effective partner with federal, state, and county agencies in focused tsunami hazard mitigation and preparations. It's safe to say that tsunami activity has in the past and may at any time impact our coastal region. To maintain and foster a sustained commitment to stay as up to date as possible with all agencies, Harbor Master Chris Tibby and District Training Officer Carrie Smith and Deputy Harbor Master Robert Dunn have continued participation in training with state, county OES offices, as well as CEAP to prepare for the potential of a tsunami and meet the ultimate goal of minimizing the damage to life and property. Additionally, harbor staff have specific tsunami section in the Harbor Emergency Response Plan, the ERP, and are trained through this working document in what to do and how to assist in a tsunami event. Pillar Point Harbor Master Chris Tibby is an active participant of the San Mateo County Tsunami Response Development Team and is encouraged by the dedication and collaborative efficiencies of working with all partner agencies. In any potential hazardous event, education and a little preparation can go a long way towards survival. To assist community members with preparations, Harbor District Communications Analyst Lizzie Zarowski has done a remarkable job at putting a comprehensive set of information and resources on the district website, which is updated as new information becomes available. District staff encourages all residents of San Mateo County, as well as those in Harbor community, to educate and prepare themselves by discovering and researching these readily available resources posted on the district website. An initiative in process by the Pillar Point Harbor Master will include educational materials and preparing for a tsunami within invoice mailings. Staff also encourages all community members to subscribe to the San Mateo County Alert System, SMC Alert, to receive text, phone calls, and email alerts of the pending hazardous events. This system is free and is available via a link on the district website. Although a tsunami is rare on the California coast, visitors and residents of our coastal community should remain vigilant. A tsunami event can be from a distant source where there may be several hours of warning before arrival, or they can occur from a near source where the damaging power can arrive prior to any official warning. With either source, it is imperative to consider your preparations and what you will do to evacuate. District staff encourages all members of the community to realize that Pillar Point Harbor and the immediate area surrounding the harbor is an inundation zone. As such, it is exclusively a tsunami hazard zone. It is vital to research the evacuation routes and the resources on the San Mateo County Harbor District website, as well as county and state offices of emergency services resources. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce Yvette Leduc from Cal OES, Rick Wilson and Jacqueline Bort from the California Department of Conservation.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Yvette.
Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for inviting us today. So again, my name is Yvette Leduc, and I am the program manager for the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services Earthquake and Tsunami Program. And I'm here today with my partners at the California Geological Survey, Jackie Bott and Rick Wilson. So as Chris mentioned, our two agencies are the two lead agencies for the statewide tsunami program. Myself at the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, we provide the emergency management component of the statewide tsunami program. And Jackie and Rick and their partners at the California Geological Survey, they provide the science side. So Rick and Jackie are going to talk to you today about the different maps and modeling products that we have, and also some mitigation products that we have that we can use to support you. And I'm going to tell you how you can take those maps that they produce and the products that they produce and how you can use those in your county, in your planning efforts, and also to share the information with the public. So as you can see on this slide here, we have many different tools to help provide you support in your local planning efforts. So we provide anything from training and exercise support to helping you become tsunami ready, which your county Office of Emergency Services is familiar with and working on. Every year in March, we do a Tsunami Preparedness Week. So we do a lot of activities with the public to help provide them information about the tsunami hazard. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our response program and how we can help support you if we do have a potential tsunami event that will impact California. So the question always comes up, we don't hear about tsunamis very often. Do we have them here in California? The answer is yes. And as you can see on this slide, since 2009, we've actually activated our response operations 6 times. The most recent one being Alaska, January 2018, we had a tsunami advisory for part of our California coast. And the largest being March 2011, that was an earthquake that occurred off the coast of Japan, traveled across the ocean and impacted us here in California and actually caused about $100 million damage to our coast here in California. That's pretty significant, especially since most of that damage was in our port and harbor areas. So lessons learned from some of those recent tsunamis. The key really is public messaging and thinking about how do we talk to the members of our community if we know that a tsunami is coming, especially from one of those distant sources. As Chris mentioned, if we have a tsunami coming from Alaska or Japan, we'll have several hours to prepare response. How do we communicate that out to them? And furthermore, how do we get them to prepare? So we see these events that are coming from places far away like Japan, where that earthquake occurs over there. So obviously we're not going to feel that event here in California. So how do we know those tsunamis are coming? So the answer to that is this little gadget that you see on my screen here. This is a dart buoy. These buoys are owned and maintained by the National Weather Service. And on this map here, you can see the little red kind of triangles around the Pacific Rim. So those are kind of generally where those dart buoys are located. So you can see off the coast of Japan, there's a couple buoys. So for an event that occurs there, as it travels across the Pacific Ocean, it's going to hit those buoys and it's going to send us information. And that's how we can figure out if a tsunami is coming to our coast and what that event is going to look like. So this here provides you a little more detail about how exactly we get that information. So those buoys have a sensor that's attached to the ocean floor. So when an earthquake occurs down below the ocean, it sends that information to the buoy, which then transmits it to the National Tsunami Warning Center, which is located in Palmer, Alaska. At the National Tsunami Warning Center, they take that data that comes from those dart buoys and also tide gauges, and they're able to analyze it. And based on that data, they're able to determine what the impact is going to look like to California. So on the screen, you can see there's basically 4 different levels of information that we might receive from them. So the green, the tsunami information statement, is basically just saying, hey, there was an earthquake. However, it's not an event that's going to cause any impact to California. The next level up is a Tsunami Watch. So that means an event's happened. We are not sure at this point, based on the information that we have, what the impact is going to be. So we're putting you into a watch, letting you know that we are analyzing this event, and it may be upgraded to a warning or advisory, or it may be canceled just based on further study of that event. So if there is determined to be an impact to California, we'll either be putting an advisory and a warning. So an advisory is for an event where we expect inundation of 1 to 3 feet, which is mostly going to impact harbors and marinas. So that's a very important one for all of you to know who deal with the public who is in our harbor, marina, and coastal areas. So it would be important to have messaging or a plan in place as to what to do if we are putting a tsunami advisory, and you may want to make sure that people are not on boats in the marina area or near the shore. So our worst case scenario is a tsunami warning. That means we're expecting more than 3 feet of inundation, and we want to start implementing further evacuation. The National Weather Service will issue a WEA for a tsunami warning event. That's the only type of these 4 different events that they will issue a WEA, and they will only issue 1 WEA. So that's important to know, because if we have a large event that occurs off of Alaska and they immediately know it's going to impact us more than 3 feet, they're going to issue that WEA right away. If that tsunami arrives 12, 13 hours later, they're not going to get another WIA. It's only that one WIA. So we always let our local officials know that it's very important to have a plan in place so that you have follow-on messaging that you can continuously be providing to the public so that they're aware of the events. So this is just a quick kind of flow chart that shows you how communication then flows from the National Tsunami Warning Center in Alaska to us here in California. So we do have a plan on how, if this hazard is going to impact our state, to make sure that the communication gets to you. So that National Tsunami Warning Center will immediately notify the local National Weather Service offices. In your case, it will be Brian Garcia in the Monterey office. I'm sure most of you know him. And then our state warning point, our state warning center here in California also gets notified. That's located within my agency in Sacramento. They immediately contact all the warning points in our coastal counties. So that's usually Sheriff's Dispatch. And then that's sent out through the county. At the same time, the Weather Service is also sending out information via the emergency alert system, which goes out on broadcast TV and radio and out to the public as well. So those two simultaneous processes are going to make sure that everybody gets notified. So in addition to that kind of official path of alert information, here in California, we went one step further and we developed what we call our tsunami event distribution list. So that's a list that our program developed, our state tsunami program. And I use the Warning Center to also distribute this information, but this goes out to all of our tsunami program partners specifically in all of our coastal counties. And we do have some harbor officials included as well. This goes out through an Everbridge system, so it will text and email and call people, and it will keep pinging people until they actually respond to confirm that they received the information. Many times, so for the Alaska event that I mentioned that happened in 2018, it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. And unfortunately, we had some people that didn't find out about it until 8 o'clock when they got into their offices the next day. So that event actually motivated us to develop this list, because we really realized the need to make sure all of our program partners are aware if an event's occurring, because they don't always occur 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So we use this list then to notify you all of the tsunami event. We also, Rick will talk a little bit about how we kind of can help support you in determining who needs to evacuate. So we share that information with everybody who's on this distribution list. And then we also set up conference calls, and we do conference calls with our partners every hour throughout the entire event until it's canceled. So we maintain communication with all of our program partners throughout the entire event. And that's not only a chance for us to share information with all of you, but it gives all of you a chance to hear what your other agencies are doing, maybe the county next door to you, harbor areas near you. It gives you a chance to make sure that everyone's response actions are kind of in line with each other, and you're all talking to each other so everyone knows what's going on throughout the state. So it's just a really good communication tool. So what we've been talking about is kind of how we do our response based on a distant threat. So what if we don't have those hours of warning? What if it's a local tsunami event? So then we need to really rely on our natural warning signs, because if it's an event that occurs right off of our coast, we may not have time to actually issue an official alert and warning to the public before the tsunami arrives, because it may literally arrive within minutes. So we always make sure everyone's aware of the feel, see, hear. If you feel the strong shaking, do your drop, cover, hold on. Don't try to walk while the shaking is strong. You may fall and hurt yourself. If you see the water receding or hear the loud ocean roar. So this again is really important for harbor officials. If you have people who are liveaboards on their boats, or if you have recreational boaters out in the area, it's really important for them to be aware of these signs, because they may need to evacuate their boats before you're able to communicate with them. So very important for them to be aware of. Then also at the bottom, there are ways that people can sign up to receive notifications. You can follow the National Tsunami Warning Center on Twitter, and then activate your Twitter to receive notifications from them. There's also a MyShake app available out there that's earthquake warning information, so that could notify you of an earthquake potentially. and then sign up for USGS earthquake notifications. The one thing to remember too, you'll see on here too, when we tell people once that shaking stops to move to high ground, stay inland, tsunamis can last for a day or two. So it's really important for people to know that they need to stay out of harm's way until local officials tell them it's safe to return. So a little bit about our offshore safety, some things to think about. A lot of times boaters immediately think, oh, a tsunami's coming, I'm going to take my boat out to sea. So a couple things to think about in doing that is that you really need to have a plan if you're going to do that. You need to have gas, food, or water available for a couple days potentially. I apologize. And then another thing to think about, so back in the 2011 tsunami, up in Crescent City, their entire harbor area was wiped out by the tsunami. So if you're a boater who has taken your boat offshore, you have enough gas for 2 days, you've been out for there for 2 days, you come back to your harbor, it's gone. So now you have to be able to take it to another marina or harbor. Is there one nearby with available space? Do you have enough gas to get there? Do you have enough food, enough water? So there's a lot of things to think about in developing your plan for people with boats. And what's really the safest thing for people to do, either to evacuate onto land, taking their boat out to sea. It's just something you may want to think about if you're going to make that type of recommendation to the people who use your marina harbor area. Oops. And then just wanted to wrap up. These are some resources that we have. These are some different websites with some really great information. We have the tsunamizone.org website, which has a lot of preparedness information. A lot of it has for both boaters and people on land. So you can go there, feel free to use any of the materials on there. You can download them, change them to meet your local needs. Feel free to do that. The tsunami.gov website is the National Tsunami Warning Center website. So you can go on there and look at all the information they have. They have information about past tsunami events, and you can take a look at like the different types of communication that they put out. The caloes.ca.gov and the My Hazards website allows you to go in, plug in your address, and find out about the hazards that are in your area. And the tsunami.ca.gov website, that's where all of our tsunami hazard maps are located. So you can actually go in, click on San Mateo County, and take a look at what that tsunami hazard area looks like for any specific spot along our coast. And then also just wanted to mention in defining our hazard area and thinking about doing your evacuation planning or response planning, we do have tools to help support you locally. We do have tsunami signs, and we can develop tsunami evacuation maps. Those are paid for by our state program. So those are free of charge to you. The only thing you guys would need to do is install them. So if you're interested in any type of products like those, you can always contact me. And I think most of you probably know Brian Mulver with the county. We work with him a lot. And so you can contact him as well, or we can work through Chris as well and get any type of resources to you that you need. So with that, this is my contact information if you need to reach me. Also, you can ask me any questions that you have following Rick's presentation. We'll be happy to discuss any of these topics with you. Or you can give me a call or shoot me an email later. And
thank you, Yvette. That was fantastic. And we have another report, right, Chris?
That's correct. Rick Wilson, he's on deck with Jacqueline Bott.
Thank y'all for being here, Rick and Jacqueline.
Thank you for having us. Jackie, you want to start?
Okay. Hi, I'm Jackie Bott, and I'm an engineering geologist at the California Geological Survey. I've been working in the tsunami unit with Rick for about 2.5 years now. My background is in various aspects of earthquake hazards in both the private and the public sectors. Today, we're going to present some information on the new San Mateo County tsunami hazard area maps, which have been constructed based on new modeling and data. And we're also going to talk about some decision support tools that we're developing. Next slide, please. So for California, where are our tsunami sources? Well, we have the San Andreas Fault Zone, which transects much of California. And then north of Cape Mendocino, we have the Cascadia Subduction Zone. The Cascadia Subduction Zone can directly cause tsunami, but other California faults can also directly cause smaller tsunamis, but can also cause indirect tsunamis through landslide generation. Next slide, please. For coastal California, the greatest tsunami threats are from these source areas shown on this slide. And we also show travel times to California for typical tsunami generating source areas. Local tsunamis will occur from local sources where the earthquake will likely be felt, and that will be a natural warning. And tsunamis from these sources can occur in less than an hour. Regional tsunamis from Cascadia Subduction Zone, for example, would take 1 to 3 hours, and tsunamis from distant sources generally take at least 5 or more hours to get to California. Next slide, please. Here's a list of notable historical tsunamis observed in San Mateo County. The majority are from distant sources such as Alaska, Chile, Japan, with the Hayward Fault being the only known local source. The most notable and well-documented tsunami was the April 1, 1946 earthquake, which produced a run-up of about 10 feet, with inundation coming 100 feet inland. Half Moon Bay sustained damage to some homes and docks. Next slide, please. Here are some photographs that I dug up from the internet that document the inundation from the 1946 earthquake in Half Moon Bay. The earthquake that generated this tsunami came from the Aleutian Islands. Next slide, please. So why is the state updating the existing tsunami inundation maps? Well, the National Tsunami Hazard Mitigation Program recommends that we update our maps every 5 to 10 years based on new information that may have become available, and also the potential for improved modeling. Our last maps were created in 2009, so it's been over 10 years. We also are using a much greater resolution for our digital elevation model, topobathymetry, that is used in the modeling, as well as some new potential tsunami sources that were not considered before based on new research. And based on all this, the hazard on the California coast has gone up. Next slide, please. Over the past 10 years, we have learned from the Japan tsunami in 2011 that tsunami hazards can be hugely underestimated. This sign here, shown on this slide, is from Japan and defined the edge of the zone. But as you can see, it was flattened during the 2011 tsunami, and water traveled 2 to 3 times further inland than was expected. They were basing their zones on 100 to 500 year history. However, there is geologic evidence for larger events that occur less frequency than this. The 2011 tsunami represented one such tsunami, a one in 1,000 year event. So we have included such an event in our analyses for California based on new research, and we're using the 1,000-year event as a basis for updating our tsunami hazard area maps. It is a rare event, but it's good to plan for the worst case scenario and then hope for the best. And next slide. Are you going to take it from here, Rick?
Sure, I can do that. Thanks, Jackie. So I'm a senior engineering geologist with California Geological Survey. I've been around for about 15 years working on tsunami work, and I'm the manager of the tsunami unit. This table provides the tsunami flow depth and run-up elevations for scenarios used in our tsunami hazard maps. So these are all the model results for various sources, both locally and from distant sources. As mentioned, we created the tsunami hazard maps, and we used an approach which incorporated tsunami source representing a 1,000-year event, which is basically the equivalent of a 5% chance of being exceeded in the next 50 years. Therefore, this is a very extreme event, which we are unlikely to see in our lifetime. But for tsunami evacuation, it's more important for everybody to understand what the worst case scenario is. So we want the public to see, you know, based on this worst case scenarios, all the area they could be safe on from all tsunami sources. The worst case scenario basically represents the equivalent of a magnitude 9.3 earthquake originating from Alaska. As mentioned, the 1946 event was a smaller event, probably a magnitude 8.6 earthquake in that same region, but it was not, you know, it created a 10-foot tsunami, but this one creates a much larger tsunami. And so this scenario, which is shown in the darker orange, is much larger than the other scenarios that we were using in 2009, which are in the light orange. Within the bay, we don't see a whole significant change along the outer coast, but in the outer coast area of the county, we do see that elevations are 2 to 3 times more, potentially could flood to a higher elevation, run-up elevation during the, you know, this severe event. But I want to stress that 99% of the time, we're not going to see or get a tsunami like this. As a matter of fact, over 90% of the time, tsunamis are going to occur in San Mateo County coast. They'll be relatively small. They'll either be causing strong currents inside harbors or perhaps minor flooding along the coast. And so for this reason, we created other tools that we wanted to share with the county, and they've looked at these as decision support tools for real-time response. And these are what we call Tsunami Playbooks. The playbook approach is twofold, one for landward evacuation purposes, and these are only to be used for distant source events. Again, as Yvette showed, if you had a local event, you really just want to react to that event in real time and do it that way. But if we have time, if we have more than, say, 3 to 4 hours to plan for a secondary evacuation, a smaller evacuation, this is how the playbooks can help out. We basically come up with an elevation of what we think the flood level will be for that particular event based on the information we get from the Tsunami Warning Center in Alaska, as well as tidal information and storm information. Whatever that flood level is going to be, we would recommend what playbook plan would be best to use. Similarly, for harbors, we do a similar thing, but it's based on strong currents and what the amplitude of the tsunami is. And I'll show how this works in real time in the next couple slides. These secondary evacuation plans, in a real event, what we would do is we would get this information from the warning center, get this other information, put it into a computer program that generates what we call the FASTER number, which is forecast amplitude, storms, tides, error in the modeling, as well as run-up potential at each location. This would then be associated with a particular plan. These plans would all be in the hands of the locals, so they would have this information ahead of time. They could create their own plans that are related to each one of these different scenarios, and fill out a form and maybe provide this to police and fire in the field to evacuate certain areas or set up roadblocks and other types of infrastructure to prevent people from getting into harm's way and getting out of harm's way. For harbors, as I mentioned, it's a little bit different. The strong currents are really what are driving the hazard in these harbors. So we can get these strong currents that go in and out of very small openings in between structures that have small openings, and they tend to amplify and get larger currents in these areas. And you'll see that in some of the maps. So it also causes eddies and whirlpools, which can be dangerous. It's very hard to navigate through those, as well as sudden water level fluctuations. And there's a whole series of different types of hazards we want to consider and make sure that the harbors are aware of for tsunamis, and that they're listed here. And this is how a maritime playbook would work in real time. Again, we would get this information from the warning center. We would recommend a minimum approach of perhaps for like Half Moon Bay or for Pillar Point Harbor to utilize Plan C in this event. they would have this playbook in place that in their hands, so they would be able to see what this information would tell them for this particular plan. And then they could have a specific plan that addresses this specific scenario in place. And what we've identified on these maps are areas where severe tsunami currents could cause damage. So we see minor to moderate damage above 3 knots. 6 knots tells us more moderate to major damage, and then above 9 knots, we start to see some significant damage. So in this case, we would probably want to keep people away from that entrance to the outer area there. So that's one of the things that these maps can be useful for, is showing areas to go and potentially areas to stay away from. These benefits of these playbooks for evacuation purposes for San Mateo County, we've seen that it could reduce the amount of number of people that have to evacuate in a particular size tsunami, reducing that by over less than 50% in some cases, and not having to close down businesses in the cities and the communities in the larger tsunami evacuation area. This translates to reduction in the number of people evacuated, as well as business closure and costs of having to shelter people. It really tailors the tsunami to the response to the tsunami, and we can provide these products in a setting kind of like a reverse 911 or ahead of time, so that you can load them into a website and provide those in real time to people if no other information is available. So very useful for response. For mitigation, we've developed reports, and one report for Pillar Point Harbor a couple years back that identify areas of potential damage in the harbor from different size tsunamis and what can be done to mitigate against those particular hazards. And so we did an analysis of debris movement, sediment movement, and potential damage to cleats and pile guides, which are the two kind of lowest hanging fruit when it comes to tsunami damage, kind of the first things to go in a tsunami. And based on that information, for the most part, the harbor is pretty safe, but in larger events, we may see some more damage. But the key issue I want to really, key part of this I want to point out is that we've provided a whole table full of potential mitigation measures that are that can be available to the community to add to their local hazard mitigation plan. And this funding for this work was provided by FEMA, so we can try to help you get funding to help mitigate some of these hazards, the full range of everything from response, mitigation, all the way to recovery. So if there's more information you want on this, we can talk about that. We have a whole list of things that we do for the state and for the communities, and this is kind of our menu, if you will, of all the different things that we have available. Some of the things we're looking to do in the future are coming up with recovery guidance, as well as debris modeling for communities on land, and have this guidance available for not only debris movement removal, but also guidance for recovery planning, which kind of go hand in hand sometimes. HAZIS module, which is a risk analysis tool FEMA's developed. We're looking to develop harbor risk models and debris risk models. We have maps that are coming out potentially for protecting occupants in new coastal development under the Seismic Hazard Mapping Act. And we really want to try to streamline the process so harbors can get funding through the local hazard mitigation plan process. And we're working with FEMA to do that. Last thing I wanted to show, just kind of promote, is our website. It's been referenced a couple times, but if you want to know more about the tsunami hazard maps, you can go to this website, look at your hazard. We have a very good tsunami preparedness guide the communities can use to understand what the hazards are, as well as what they can do. And then the last thing I wanted to promote here is we put together a very good website on the 2011 tsunami, both things that we learned, lessons we learned from what happened in Japan, as well as what happened in California, that we're applying to a lot of our new products. And that's the end of the presentations. And so if you have any questions, if we have time, we're available to try to answer those.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much. This was a great presentation to both presentations. And Chris, thank you for bringing these presentations to our meeting today. I thought they were very informative. I'm going to open this up to commissioner comments first. And I've got some comments, but I'd rather have everyone else speak first. And I see that Commissioner Ryring's hand is up. Commissioner Ryring?
I may have some questions too, because I made some notes, but I want to thank Chris Tibby for his speedy and excellent response to our request last month for an update on tsunami dangers and on the work that the district does to support our county and our state efforts. Jim, Lizzie, and all of our district staff, thank you too for your important work on this issue. Yvette, Jackie, and Rick, your presentations today were outstanding. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. I'm sure the district will do its best to disseminate all vital information from these presentations.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryring. Commissioner Zemke, I think that you're unmuted. Did you want to add a comment?
I did. I had a question, I guess. I know that the tsunami risk is probably more pronounced is obviously pronounced along the coast. And I guess the assumption I'm making here is that as far as the impact on San Francisco Bay is mitigated by the constriction of the Golden Gate that would restrict or mitigate any significant impact on the bay. Is that correct?
I can address that. It's yes and no. On the outer coast, we do see, as you could tell from that one table, the hazard can be high from certain events. There are areas within the bay, though, that also tend to have amplified tsunami waves based on our modeling that show they are at a higher risk. Places like Alameda, pretty much straight across from the entrance to the bay, parts around Sausalito and around San Francisco. Those are areas that could be more vulnerable than other areas. But you're correct that once you start to, Port of Richmond's another area that tends to get some amplification in that area. But once you start going further north and south in the bay, especially as you come around towards San Francisco airport, we see a pretty big reduction in the tsunami hazard. So for San Mateo County, most of the inner bay area is relatively safe. Again, look at our maps to see if there are some prone areas. Yeah, you're correct that it does dissipate as it comes into the bay further north and south.
Right, and the primary reason I'm asking that question, the Harbor District also operates the Oyster Point Marina in South San Francisco. So I'm just curious about potential impacts there. Thanks.
Sure.
Commissioner Matoush, I see that you're unmuted. Did you have a question or comment?
Both. For a comment along with what Commissioner Zemke was saying, I was in Richmond and I was very fortunate that my boat had just been taken out of the water. It was in the boat yard. But even in Richmond, after one of the last tsunamis, there was a crazy amount of current and a 3-foot difference in the water levels. And the currents were absolutely shocking. It's hard to believe. If somebody had told me, if I hadn't seen that and witnessed it, I would have had trouble believing it. But that's as far away as Richmond's, and that's way up in a little tiny corner. But I was truly amazed by the presentation by these people, and I've got to say, congratulations to our staff and Harbor Master Tibby. This is like that old expression, you've come a long way. I recall previously chatting with the San Mateo Sheriff's Department when they had a hand in controlling the tsunami awareness. And I talked to our Harbor District and said, we ought to get together. And well, it's gone way past that. And this is really a great amount of information. I can't say enough in a positive way about these things. I want to thank you for your presentation. I want to thank Harbor Master Tibby, and I also have to say congratulations to our staff for all that you've done working together. This is way more than I ever could have imagined. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenas? You're not unmuted, but so you're not the last. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't leave you out, because I know this is important to you.
Yeah. Well, I agree with all the comments that were made. It was great presentations. I do have lots of questions, mostly for our staff, and I don't think this venue is the right way to get to it, because I'd like to have a conversation about exactly what our plan is. We have these great resources from USGS and OES. So maybe that's a conversation for later.
Okay, thank you. I want to add my sentiments to Chris. Thank you so much. This was fantastic, and all the things that you've done and the work that you and the staff have done is just tremendous. And Yvette, thank you so much for giving us like the bigger picture overview from the state level. I hope that we can continue to have an open dialogue and collaboration, because we are a working harbor. I think it's very important for the harbor district, especially with the San Mateo County coastline being so long. You know, just to keep people aware of what we're doing. And also, you know, we work with the sheriff's office and with the coastside fire to a certain extent with regard to water safety, water rescue. This is a completely different dimension that I do want to touch on after I say thank you to Rick and Jacqueline too, because your presentation was fantastic. So can I just ask a couple of questions? One, have y'all done this presentation to the Coastside CERT team, which is affiliated with Coastside Fire? And is this something that the harbor, Chris, and maybe this is a better question for you, and maybe Jim, can we work with Coastside CERT to do this type of presentation if it hasn't already been done? I think that they would be very interested, because they're so focused on preparedness, right, on the coast, and they've got.
Is that Dave Cosgrave's group?
Yes.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
correct.
it is.
We have
Yeah, but-
presented to them. It's probably been about a year and a half ago, so it's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think that, okay, so maybe we can work with y'all on that, because I'm not just looking at the harbor here, but even down on the south coast, you know, where I think it's a more rural area, and we saw that with the CZU lightning fire. And I guess well, there are lots of lessons learned down there in terms of people wanting to be prepared and needing to be prepared. I mean, it's obviously less dense, so maybe the preparedness won't be as urgent for residents down there, but I do think that people should know. And just pretty much all the way through Pacifica, because they're dealing with erosion as well, right, up north. So I don't know, maybe the harbor district can help facilitate something like that for the Coastside CERT team, which I think has about 300 members on their CERT team, and they have a distribution list. And I don't want to overstate this, but I think it's something like 1,900 residents on the entire coastside, which is significant. I mean, obviously they're very concerned with preparedness and safety. So I just want to put that out there.
Great. And so just to let you know, we have been working with several officials in your county. So I don't know if you know Christopher Clements in Pacifica. He is, let me get his title. He is with the police department there. He is the captain at the Pacifica Police Department. So we worked with him. We actually were there in San Mateo County, and we actually went up and down your entire coastal area. And so we've been to Pillar Point and your harbor area there. So we're a little familiar with it all through Half Moon Bay. So we just purchased 5 tsunami kiosks for the city of Pacifica. So on these kiosks on the front side, it has at each of the locations where they are, it has a tsunami evacuation route specific to that location. And then on the back side is water safety information. So like rip currents and that type of thing. And then we also worked with Barbara Morris with state parks. So down in the south area further. So starting in Half Moon Bay and going south. We
To about like the San Gregorio area.
Exactly. Yeah. And down there. So we developed 5 kiosks for her as well. And hers were a little bit different style. And we also did some wall mounted for her. So same type of information down there. And we did visit some of your harbor areas. However, we haven't developed anything specific for you yet. We definitely are 100% available to support you. If you guys are interested in anything like that, we can send you samples and help you with that, as well as any planning efforts. We help with sign plans. There are several tsunami signs installed throughout the county as well.
Thank
and
you.
we did just purchase several signs for the airport as well.
The Half Moon Bay Airport?
The San Francisco Airport.
Okay, okay, I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And another quick question with regard to Zone Haven, the new program that pretty much was, I don't want to say it was started here, but the county had a huge interest in getting this and actually helped a lot in terms of getting Zone Haven developed with regard to evacuation zones. So can you tell me how y'all have worked with communities with regard to getting information into the Zone Haven?
So I'm not familiar with Zone Haven. So I think that might be something that they're doing at the county level.
I think it's a little bit, I think it's growing, Yvette. I don't know how big it has become, but I know it's a big deal in San Mateo County because
I think I could help you with that, Virginia. You are absolutely correct. And Zone Haven is well underway. And currently, if I wasn't here today, I would be in a meeting with Chris Clemens and Chief Cosgrove and a number of CERT members. And we've divided up this new both fire evacuation plan and also a tsunami evacuation plan, utilizing the Zone Haven maps and districts. And those are still being planned out. And man, honestly, I know it's easy to criticize how government works sometimes. We've all, even though we work in it, we've all experienced it. I get it. But this has been such a refreshing change to work with these folks, and especially people like Yvette, Rick, and Jacqueline. And, everyone is putting together an effort that it's so streamlined. It's incredible. And we're having weekly meetings on this. So a lot of advancements coming in. So I'll be sure to keep you updated or whatever interest you may have for it, because you're absolutely right. Zone Haven is a spectacular tool, and it's I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and I think it pretty much started in San Mateo County with Coastside Fire. And I think it's probably going to scale throughout the state at some point, Yvette. So it's probably something you should be familiar with. But again, this was originally for evacuation for like a disaster. And obviously tsunamis can be disasters. Obviously they are disasters, but I'm not sure that it necessarily took into account the coastal areas. But again, maybe this is something, I don't know, Chris and Jim, can we work with Coastside CERT just to help? I mean, I think they're looking for, and I haven't talked to Coastside CERT, but I know that my CERT program, because I'm a CERT, we're constantly looking for new subjects or topics to talk about. And if this is something that we can bring to the Coastside residents, I think it'd be very, very helpful. And also, Chris, with your knowledge of Zone Haven, I mean, I'd be happy to help, with that too. You probably have way more knowledge, but it's something that a lot of the CERT programs across the county are looking at and have started using. I mean, I think the only problem that I've heard is the actual app being used because of the poor and spotty signals on the coast. Right. And so anyway, the point is, if we can collaborate with Coastside residents and Coastside Fire and the Sheriff's Department, I mean, this, I think, is in line with our mission as a harbor district.
That's correct.
I've talked enough.
Yeah, and
Commissioner
we're happy to
Wiring,
come out and present and collaborate anytime, just let us know and we're happy to do that.
thank y'all. Thank you so much. Commissioner Wiring or Commissioner Lorenz, I thought you might have some questions. I mean, I've kind of asked mine and I pretty much that's it for me until I can think of something else. But I'll circle back to Commissioner Wiring. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. My questions got asked and answered. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Lorenz, I know you said you had a lot, so if you want to do some top line questions, ask them now, and then we can delve deeper into others later if you want.
Yeah, I think I'll hold off. Questions are more specific about what our staff would actually do.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Zimke.
Oh, thanks. I too would like to add my thanks to the team from Sacramento. They did a really, really good job, and I learned a lot. And thanks to Chris Tibby for organizing this, and it really went well.
Thank you. Commissioner Matoush, any last words?
No, just a job well done. Thank everyone that presented. Thank everybody that's put effort into this. It's a very important item, especially with us living here on the coast.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Chris, Jacqueline, Yvette, and Rick. I know I'm looking forward to continuing this dialogue and this working relationship. It's so important.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity to talk to all of you.
Thank you. Okay, before I leave, I don't see any hands for public comment right now, so we'll move on to the next item. Thank y'all. So we're on to item 13, which is final consideration of amendment to ordinance code to ensure safe use of private mooring at Pillar Point Harbor. John Moran.
Yes, Commissioners, this item is regarding a mooring ordinance code amendment. At the July 21st public board meeting, the Board of Harbor Commissioners considered approval of an amendment to Chapter 3.15 of the district ordinances regarding mooring regulations. The board authorized the general manager to notice the proposed ordinance amendment pursuant to Harbors and Navigation Code, which requires a minimum 20-day notice period for public review and comment on proposed ordinance code revisions. Staff noticed the proposed amendment accordingly and received no public comments to bring to the board's attention prior to this final consideration. Staff recommends the board approves a motion to adopt resolution number 21-10, an amendment to Chapter 3.15 of the San Mateo County Harbor District Ordinance Code regarding regulations.
Thank you. I'll open up this item for commissioner discussion.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I see Commissioner Lorenz has a smile on his face. So do you have any comments, Commissioner
No,
Lorenz?
I have a question, but also like to just say that it's great to see this being done because the moorings are troublesome to say the least. With the notices, did you reach out to the current permit holders just so that rather than just put it out in the public domain?
Yeah, we have a distribution list, which includes tenants and any members of the public, including the people that might be taking advantage of the mooring permits, which they can voluntarily sign up for. So that went out. Then we also, of course, sent out or put out the local publications, which of course people can see. But then also we sent out emails to the actual mooring permittees that we have contact information for. Regretfully, some of them, they've had the permits for so long And they just have not, they've not even, some of them haven't even had boats on them for quite some time. That's one of the reasons why we're trying to clean up this ordinance.
Great, thank you, John.
Thank you, Commissioner Zimke. I see that you're unmuted.
I have no comments.
Okay, I will open this up for public comment for this item in this motion. I don't see any hands raised. Do you see anything out there, Melanie?
Oh, no hands raised.
Okay, let's do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Ryrie,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye. And also I'd like to suggest that we publish it in latitude 38.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
You're on mute, Commissioner Lorenz.
Commissioner Chang Corrali.
Aye, so that motion carries. Thank you so much. Thanks, John, for a good report.
Was that a friendly amendment after the fact, and how does that work?
I would think that staff can decide if they want to send something in. It's not up to us to decide if they're going to publish it or not. It's a popular magazine for local coastal sailors. And it'd just be nice to get it out there that, you know what, we're no longer the harbor where you come in and drop your own block of concrete and suddenly claim you have a mooring.
Understood, Commissioner Matoush.
Staff took it as a recommendation, but not direction.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to item 14, which is the Pillar Point Harbor West Trail Shoreline Protection Project, IFB, and construction low bid consideration. John Moran.
Yeah, this is a motion for the board to approve the low bid received from Michael Roberts Construction, Inc., which was a result of the West Trail Shoreline Protection Project publicly advertised invitation for bid for construction for an amount of $2,070,086 and authorize the general manager to approve change orders up to a 10% contingency amount of $2,277,095. This project focuses on repairing and providing for protection of an approximately 300-foot length of trail and shoreline and restoring the historic beach that previously existed in this area. This particular portion of the West Trail has been subject to erosion and emergency repairs since 1994. The project entails the construction of a living shoreline to protect and restore the severely eroded segment of West Trail shoreline and also addresses drainage issues in the vicinity of the project. The overall project purpose is to provide multiple ecological and community benefits by implementing a nature-based shoreline solution that increases the resilience of the West Trail to coastal erosion, extreme storms, and sea level rise. It involves a nourished beach with an elevated dune adjacent to the trail. Buried beneath the surface of the shoreline and dune would be a cobble berm, otherwise known as dynamic revetment, and two rock fingers extending perpendicular from the trail. The proposed project also includes stormwater improvements needed to address the aesthetics, function, and maintenance needs of existing storm drainage systems. The GHD-led team, which include partners ESA, Brad Damitz, and others, had reached the 100% engineering design stage, and the project construction invitation for bid pre-qualification form was publicly advertised consistent with public contract code. The pre-qualification process evaluates all firms interested in the project on multiple criteria, including experience with like projects, firm financial history, past project challenges, etc. 5 contractors expressed interest in the project and returned the pre-qualification forms. 3 of the 5 actually met the minimum score. Bids were opened on August 10th, 2021. The district received 2 bids for this project, and after a thorough review of the bid forms confirmed that the low bid received from Michael Roberts Construction, Inc. met all criteria to be accepted and considered for approval by the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Harbor Commissioners.
Thank you, John. I'll open this item up for discussion among the commissioners. Commissioner Zimke, I see that you're unmuted. Do you have a comment or a question?
No, I don't really have a comment or question. I know that I think in the past, the district has tried to seek funding, outside funding for this, and I just curious if we want to review that.
I would just speak to that real quickly, Commissioner Zimke, and say that the district, like with all of our approved projects, the district has hired the largest grant consulting firm in the state of California, California Consulting, who has working diligently in trying to evaluate and apply for all applicable grants for all of our projects, including this one. Regretfully, at present, we've yet to be successful for the West Trail project, but we are continuing our efforts.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Commissioner Lorenz, I see that you're unmuted too. So I'm picking on those who are unmuted because you're preparing hopefully for a comment or question.
Quick comment. I'm happy to see this moving along. It's been quite a long time, since 2015. I have a quick question for John. I researched out the firm as best as I could. I went to their website and then did some searches and really couldn't find out much about their expertise with respect to doing projects in the coastal zone. And I just want to know, should I be concerned about that or not? Maybe you can help me feel better about it.
Commissioner Reyes, that's an excellent question. And the reason why we work with our legal team and we're able to, at board direction, we're able to go through the pre-qualification process. We were able to vet all firms to ensure that they did in fact have adequate, what our professional industry experts believed to be adequate experience in like projects. It is true that before they were able to submit bids. So we went through this pre-qualification process, and they had to score above 65 on that in order to be able to submit bids to us. This firm has, in fact, met that criteria. In fact, out of the 5 that turned in the pre-qualification forms, it rated number 2. So it did meet our criteria. And from that point, we do have to go with the low bid. And this firm was pre-qualified and was low bid and does, in fact, have multiple projects. Prior to this meeting, I looked back at theirs to refamiliarize myself, with their history. And yes, they do have multiple coastal shoreline protection projects, including one back in 19, I think it was, here just in Pacifica. So even relatively local. None of the shoreline protection projects, are they living shoreline protection projects, not hard armoring, is a relatively new concept to the West Coast. So it turned out none of the firms that expressed interest in this project had actually had experience with the living shoreline method of shoreline protection. But again, we did evaluate and score all of the firms accordingly with their shoreline protection experience. And so contractors are our consultants, our design engineering consultants are satisfied with the results of this invitation for bid.
Great, thank you. I feel much better. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Commissioner Lorenz. Commissioner Wiring, any comments or questions?
No.
Commissioner Matoush?
I'm trying to figure out if I'm off mute or not. No. I support moving ahead with this. Am I there?
Yes, and I can hear some friends in the background. So
We don't have a motion yet, do we? I'll
well,
move.
I have a quick question, but before we do that, there is a public comment. There is a hand up. So let me open this up to public comment right now, Commissioner Wiring. I see John Olam.
Thank you. Sounds like a great plan. And I really commend the work that Commissioners Lorenas and former Commissioner Brennan did to bring about this concept of a living shoreline. It shows how effective elected leaders can be when they put their mind to something. I would suggest that, it makes a lot of sense to question, does somebody have experience doing this? And Mr. Moran pointed out, and I think that's, wise on his part that he checked it out, that it makes sense that since it's not been done much on the West Coast, there really isn't anybody locally that has experience doing this. And that's understandable. But what I would suggest is you find some firms on the East Coast or wherever it's been done successfully and solicit, just some minimum input from them. Just, are we making any stupid mistakes or have we missed something that's obvious to them that they've had experience that it's great that we're going to have a contractor out there doing it, but they're going to be figuring it out for the first time. And if spending $20,000 or $50,000 on a consultant from a firm that does have experience doing this, just to review design plans, stuff like that, seems to be a wise investment from something that is going to be a valuable asset to this community for many years in the future. Thank you. Please unmute me or mute me.
Thank you. Any other public comments? So I just have a quick question, maybe for Julie more than anybody or Jim. So I'm looking at the report and the amount, the contingency amount. So the 2.277 million is the contingency amount. Is that does that need to be reflected in the budget, or do we need to include this increase into the capital expenditure appropriations for working capital purposes?
Julie, go ahead and take that.
Okay. Yes, I would recommend that we actually add to that motion that the board approves the increase of capital expenditure appropriations of $2,277,095 and to be funded by available working capital. So that it will be reflected in the budget.
Okay, I don't, unless I missed it, I don't think that there has been a motion yet, right? I think Commissioner Wiring was about to make a motion. So Commissioner Wiring, would you like to make your motion? I interrupted you to open up public comment. If you can hear me, you're on mute.
I'm not on mute. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
no. Yeah, now we can, yes.
I move that the board approve the low bid received from Michael Roberts Construction, Inc., which was a result of the West Trail Shoreline Protection Project publicly advertised invitation for bid for an amount of $2,070,086 and authorize the general manager to approve change orders up to a 10% contingency amount of $2,277,095.
And also, Commissioner Wiring, can I add a friendly amendment to increase the capital expenditure appropriations by the $2,277,095 for working capital? Just to make sure it's in the budget.
The amendments work is that we, is that the need to be second. Can you ask Tricia to confirm whether everybody needs to weigh in on, or if it needs a second? I'm okay with it.
You mean with my amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's basically your motion with the amendment to increase the capital expenditure appropriations by that amount, $2,277,095 on top of what your motion was. And if you're
Okay.
okay with that, then is there a second for that?
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I just have one more comment.
Sure, Commissioner Lorenz.
Having said I'm very happy about this, John's answer, I'd also like to point out that I have complete faith in the consultants that we're using. Environmental Science Associates has done work in Ventura on similar projects. They are one of the leading consulting firms on living levees. And so the design and engineering aspects of this, I have full confidence in what we're going to do. Thanks again, John.
Thank you. I don't see any more public comments, so let's do a roll call, please, Melanie.
Excuse me. Commissioner Mateusz,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring.
Aye.
Okay, so we have completed the discussion items for our regular agenda, and a consent item was pulled off, which was item number 4, the monthly capital projects update. So I would like to circle back to that. And Mr. Moran, if you'd like to give your update, that would be fantastic. Although I know that Commissioner Lorenz pulled this off. So Commissioner Lorenz, was there something that you wanted to have John focus on in particular? You're on mute.
Yes, I was interested in just a quick timeline update for the Surfers Beach RV park restoration that we're doing. And then also with respect to the shoreline replenishment on Surfers Beach, just so that folks can, I get this question a lot, so it'd be nice to hear it from you guys where we are with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll start with the RV park ADA resting space and additional ADA parking there right by Surfers Beach. That project is moving forward with a lot of cooperation with our consultants and the city of Half Moon Bay, who not only is in through the Coastal Commission and LCP is issuing the CDP, but also their planning department, is the one approving all of the permits. Mm-hmm. So just yesterday, I saw some back and forth with our consultants and the city of Half Moon Bay. Those particular questions were, I think, what I would consider relatively minor about an airsock flag pole, and how high we wanted it, and some adjustments to the plans for lighting. Lighting is a very, very sensitive topic. We don't want the lighting to obscure the view from people across Highway 1, but more importantly, we don't want any lighting adversely affecting marine mammals, marine wildlife at all, birds, etc. So the lighting is being kind of relooked at present. In short, that project is still in the permitting process. Once we complete the permitting process, which I'm hopeful now that it seems we're down to some relatively small detail. If nothing else, bigger comes up that's more challenging, I'm hoping that we will be able to complete the invitation for bid for construction and get that project publicly solicited for bid for construction relatively soon, in the next couple months, I'm hoping. Like with all of our projects, the continued COVID challenges have slowed and backlogged many of the permitting agencies. So it's just an additional challenge that we've had to contend with. Then with the Surfers Beach project, I actually met with Division Boat of Waterways acting deputy chief weeks ago out at Surfers Beach. And Brad Damitz, our consultant for the Surfers Beach project, was able to get online. Acting deputy chief did not know exactly when she would be able to swing by there. So I was able to meet with her in person, but Brad was able to get in by speakerphone, and it wasn't windy. So it was a very good conversation. And all of our grant opportunities for that project are still moving forward. And we still hope to potentially break ground with the eelgrass mitigation and the Surfers Beach shoreline protection project sometime in latter 2022.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Zimke, I see that you're unmuted.
Well, I had no comments. Yeah.
Commissioner Matoush?
No comments. The report that was produced by staff was excellent.
Okay, Commissioner Ryring?
No, thank you, John. Always great work.
I'll open this up to public comment. We do have a hand raised, John Olam.
Thank you for taking my comment. While going through the report for item 4, I noticed that there were no grants applied for work on Johnson Pier or on the fuel dock. It's been my just my experience just from watching things in government, that if you were to apply for a grant and be successful for it today, that it'd be at minimum 18 months to 2 years before you'd be receive that money and start the project. I noticed that almost all of the grants that you've applied for over the last year have been more than a year and a half have been denied. Maybe one. I can't sure if there was one that you got. I know there was only one grant applied for as far as Johnson Pier. That was for $300,000, but looks like you didn't get that. I'm wondering if there's a pattern to the denials. It looks like almost everything is getting denied, and I'm sure that's probably the experience that most agencies would have. But if we were to have the denial letters available to us, would we see, is there something about our applications, about the harbor district, about the projects that we have online that explains why we are not successful at obtaining grant funding? I did notice that in many of the staff reports from last year regarding grant funding, that staff often presented an optimistic appraisal that funding was right around the corner. They were expecting it any day because of the great projects that we have, but we're not getting any. And it's not that they aren't being processed because of COVID, they're simply being denied. So could staff please just kind of inform us on status of grant funding, what I might have wrong here, where things stand on Johnson Pier and critical infrastructure.
Thank you. Your time is up. So this was pulled from the consent, and I will entertain a motion to accept this report.
Move to accept item 4.
Is there
I'll second that.
any further discussion by the commissioners? Okay, let's go for a roll call, please, Melanie.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush.
Aye.
So that motion carries. And now we are at item E, commissioner comments. You have up to 2 minutes. Are there any commissioner comments? I see 2 unmuted commissioners. Commissioner Lorenz, I'll start with you, not to pick on you, but you have 2 minutes for any
fine.
commissioner comments.
First, I'd like to thank our staff, not just the leadership with Jim and John, but also our harbor master and the folks that work with him. They've done a really good job working with the public on wildlife protection. I know it's a challenge in so many ways. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we've been asked by the public to reinstitute our Wildlife Protection Committee. And it's important to these folks and to some of the organizations like Sierra Club, Audubon, Surfrider, and others. So Jim, if you could show that video. This is there are many topics, and so it's impossible for me to go over this in my lowly 2-minute commissioner comments.
Yeah, Melanie, that was the video I had sent you. If you can share screen.
Hold on, let me share it right now. Hold on a second.
Thank you, Melanie.
Okay. Huh.
Tricia, is this kosher?
I'm sorry, I can't, hold on.
Well, this presentation is not on the agenda as an item. So I'm a little concerned about this. I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Lorenz, and if we would like to put this on an agenda, a future agenda to create the wildlife committee, we can do that and we can vote on whether or not we want to create that. But this is not an agenda item that I don't think we can talk about this. Is that correct, Tricia?
Yes, I would agree that if you're going to have a presentation that's not on the agenda, it's best to put that on a future agenda. It seems like it's a little bit more than a typical staff report.
Well, in a
under
2-minute
informational,
commissioner
yeah,
comment.
exactly.
It's not a presentation, it's just a video of a boat.
You know what? For some reason, it won't let me share it for some reason.
Okay, that's
No,
fine.
I don't know why it's not giving me that. I go to share screen and it
Yeah,
doesn't.
Ed, if you'd
It's
like
fine.
to, sorry.
Oh, I said to Melanie, don't worry
Oh.
about it. It's not a problem. It's okay.
Okay, do you have any other commissioner comments?
Nope.
Okay, Commissioner Zemke? You're on mute.
Sorry
There you
about I had trouble finding my little arrow on my computer screen. I have no comments, other than to say this was a great meeting, and I really do appreciate particularly the tsunami presentation. Thanks to staff for organizing that and all the effort that went into that.
Commissioner Ryring?
Ditto what he said. I really appreciate everybody's work on these agenda items today, especially the tsunami preparedness. That was really, really informative.
Commissioner Matoush?
In as much as I have no commissioner comments, I'm going to propose a motion to adjourn.
Okay, wait, let me make a quick comment of thank you. Thank you to staff for a great agenda and to Harbor Master Chris Tibby for an outstanding and very informative presentation on tsunami preparedness, the importance of it, and how we can collaborate with the residents on the coast side for this very important issue. And again, Chris, I'd love to just have us continue the dialogue and collaboration and relationship with the state so that we can, somehow bring in other stakeholders like Coastside Fire. I mean, I know that they know all of this, but Zone Haven, I think, is a huge opportunity for us. So let's keep that open. Okay,
For
Tom,
sure,
you made a
Commissioner
motion to,
Corrali.
sorry?
I said, for sure, Commissioner Ricali, we'll make sure we do that. And, it was a pleasure today. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner Mathush, you made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any comments? If not, let's do a roll call, please, for the motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Jane Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned at 3:45 and we'll see y'all next month.